Got it.
Hello, 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 hello. Hello, everyone. I am Karla Scipio from Karla Scipio Global Enterprises. Welcome to She.Speaks, a safe, confidential space curated for Black women to meet, share stories, inspire, and motivate each other. Encourage, too, each other. We meet every third Sunday afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am so excited that you chose to spend your time here this afternoon with us. I'm a registered nurse, a life coach, women's health coach. I utilize a holistic approach to help women heal and thrive. I express myself through writings, journals, workbooks, curated events. You can find me anywhere on Instagram as I am Karla Scipio, also on Facebook as Karla Scipio. Today I am extremely excited. I met my sister friend, and sister friend is a term that doesn't come lightly when you have people in your corner that hold space for you and back you up. And if you call them and they come out and they show up and they do what you ask them to do and some. So I have my sister friend Dawn Blanchard, and I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about herself and why I felt, as you learn about her, you realize why it was so important that we come on together and talk about expressing yourself, being your authentic self, and how we can share what we know with other generations, those younger than us and those older than us. We all learn from each other.
Hello, Ms. Carla. As Carla said, we are sister friends, more sisters than anything. Some several years ago, we both ended up at the same event in Atlanta at Spelman College, and I had my own section that I curated, talking to young women and women at the school, just as she did. And we kind of listened to both each other's. And in doing that, I found out that this lady was amazing. And I was like, I want to know more about her. I want to meet and know more about her. And as we sat and we talked, we realized that we're definitely all on the same path. And that is empowering young women, women in general, but at that point we were dealing with college ladies,
Right.
and getting them to be as healthy as they could, in not just in their bodies, but in their mindset, and being able to take care of themselves. As I tell people, the only dumb question is the one not asked. And we felt like we have enough information from our own years of being on this earth. And if we don't know the answers, we can help you find it. So
Definitely.
being able to attack some of those issues that young Black women and women in general face, because, like she said, she's a nurse. So we talked about menstruation. We talked about sexual transmitted diseases. We talked about a lot of sexual questions that a lot of these young ladies that were in college had no clue. So that's how you make a lot of mistakes if you don't know. So we wanted to let them know. And I think that's one of the things that started us on this journey was, you know what? There are a lot of questions that women want to ask, but don't know who to ask. So we try to educate as much as we can. I am a life coach, and that is going to get a little long, but I'm a life coach. I'm a mental health coach. I'm a grad student in finishing up my master's in mental health counseling. I am a jewelry designer. I am a poet. I am a natural hairstylist, have been for a little over 40 years. I publish print on demand books. I am a painter. I do a lot of abstract art, and I do all that stuff on a regular basis. That's not something that I just pull out of the air and do once a year. I literally function in all the areas on a regular basis.
She's super
And I
busy,
do
y'all.
that.
She's super
Yeah,
busy.
I stay busy. I stay busy, and I'm a
She's
busy,
in her flow. She's
and
using
I
her gift and she's
definitely,
in her flow. Yeah.
and that's it, Marilyn. Definitely try to stay in the flow.
Once you
And
get
in
in the
doing that,
flow, girl, you can do anything.
Go ahead. Go
exactly.
ahead.
I also am an avid traveler. Traveling is part of what I do for a different reason than most people. I want to learn more about different cultures, want to be able to bring different things to the people that don't travel like I do. So I travel all over the world basically as much as I can. Being able to connect us and understand what our ancestors had to offer, what other people in different countries have to offer, and as women, what do we have to offer each other? So that's what I do.
Whew, okay.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot, but you know what? I feel like to whom much is given, much is required. Meaning that you were given all of this purpose, and it's all women. So it's not just like you said before, not just the physical aspect of women or the mental, is the different dimensions of that woman. So we talk about intellectual, so you learn. We talk about physical, so you eat right, you take care of that body, you rest,
Exactly.
you relax. We talk about mental, being able to deal with the anxiety and stress of being Black and being a female in this world today. There's so much different parts of us that needs to be addressed, that needs to be nurtured, that needs to be nourished, that needs to be taken care of. So of course you are not going to be able to do one thing. You know, we do multiple things. But
Exactly.
one of the things I remember from that meeting in Spelman was the fact that for me, and I didn't realize it, I didn't remember it until recently, that my focus, I had my graduate student with me at that time. So we did an intergenerational conversation. And it's so funny how time has come down now where we're doing intergenerational conversations where we are the elders in the room and we sit with the younger women. So it's so
Yes.
important that we share the knowledge, and then we also learn from them because they keep us up to date, they keep us flowing. I want to say thank you, Ashley, for coming on. That's one of our younger members that's also multifaceted. You sit down and you hear the different things that they do. But Dawn, I want to talk first. I want to talk about the mental health coach
Okay.
and why you felt, because I know that you were you did on the campus and you deal with a lot of young people and the difficulties and just living life
Exactly.
today.
Exactly. So
So let's talk about that.
So, as a mental health coach, a lot of people ask me, what is that? Because everybody's heard about life coach, spiritual coach, career coach. As a mental health coach, if a lot of my clients have already been diagnosed, they either have anxiety, mild depression, bipolarism, all different little things that they've been diagnosed with. And even though they may have a therapist or a doctor that they go to, guess what? Every day happens. So
Yeah.
they need somebody that can get them through the everyday moments, or when they really want to break down and they don't want to go to their therapist. That's when they come talk to me. And I try to give them everyday things to be able to process to get through the everyday life experiences from that side of it. Because as a mental health coach, I realize that we are not thinking about self-care, self-love, none of those things when we're in the midst of going through that storm. But what I try to get these young women to understand is you got to do that through the storm because that's actually what helps you. So it's hard to see that when you're going through something that, oh, I don't care about myself. I don't love myself. Well, guess what? I might not like myself during that storm, but I got to love myself through it. And that's
Yeah.
one of the things with mental health. The coach, I try to encourage them not only from what I've been taught, but from what I've learned from my own experiences.
Right.
I was raised in that era where, as a mother, we want to give our children different than what we had or better than what we had.
Mm.
But does that really just stop with your own children? So I end up with a whole lot of adopted daughters, as they call me, because
Yeah.
after a certain amount of time, that's what they look at.
Right.
And I realized we can't just share this with our own children. We can't just share this with the immediate kids or the immediate ones in our family, because guess what? If we really believe that it takes a village, we got to share with all. So trying to help them understand that there's things that are happening today because it's so easy. Everybody today is being given a diagnosis. It's so quick to give somebody a diagnosis, and that diagnosis sticks with you. And there are a lot of kids, or young adults, I should say, that they don't want to go to a therapist. There's a lot of older adults because we were always taught that's the crack doctor. You don't go to the crack doctor. He's crazy. Those are for crazy people.
Yeah,
No,
that stigma is real, and it's still in
it's
our
still a
community.
stigma for us, a big one.
Mhm.
So I feel like sometimes I bridge that gap because they might not talk to a therapist, but they'll talk to me.
Right. So one of the things I noticed when I worked at Clark was that a lot of the students came, but they did not let anyone know that they had a diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, they
So they
hide,
came on
camouflage.
and they camouflage it. And when you get on campus, it's not like when you were at home where you're still under your mother's or father, your parents' roof, where they will tell you go to school, it's time to come home. This is what you need to do. Your
Exactly.
chores, you do that.
Mm-hmm.
When you come to campus, if you go to class or you don't go to class, nobody cares, nobody knows. And a lot of them,
Exactly.
in the middle of the semester, they break down.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them wouldn't go to classes, and they would wait until right before the end to reach out for help. But
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I noticed, and you mentioned it, is that we tend to get children that not ours biologically, but ours because they were sent to us for us to help them.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, if you've noticed, because I've noticed it, and I'm not sure. Are we having more young people with mental health concerns today than earlier on, or do you feel like it's still the same thing? Because one of the things I've noticed, and I'm gonna move on from here. One of the things I've noticed is that a lot of African American children, or even some Afro Caribbean children, are tending to commit suicide now. The suicidal rate for young people, our young people, are increasing.
Increasing because the mental health is there. So I truly believe what has happened is a lot of it is being uncovered. Um, a lot of it because we've put those things in place where they say kids have a voice, because I truly believe we all have a voice. That's one of my platforms. We all have a voice. So they're talking more. So it is happening more. So there are more kids that are being diagnosed, but this is the catch. They're not doing anything about it. They get that diagnosis, and either somebody in the family or close friends or tell them, oh, don't pay attention to that, or you can deal with it. I think we're getting a bad rap here because I believe in CBD products. I truly
Mhm.
believe that there are some really good ones out there. But now that you can go to the gas station and get those type of products, everybody's using them. And I'm like, you don't know what you're giving your child. So you got to be careful with that. And there's another problem. They don't know in a lot of families because the families are not allowing them to speak out because what goes on in this house stays in this house
Yeah,
is
we
really
taught them that.
right now. And I see the numbers going up. I actually am in a pilot program right now, and I work at one of the colleges, and that's what I do. I am a life coach for all the females at this college. And then there's a male therapist that works with the male students. Now, there have been a few males that said they don't want to talk to him, they rather talk to me. But as a coach, they are open. They are talking to me, but I give them the same guidelines as if I was their therapist. I tell them everything they're talking to me about is confidential. As a
Right.
coach, if they talk about some suicide or somebody harming them, I got to report those things. But I give them real life examples. I give them real life things to look at. I give them homework on a weekly basis. I have four of those students that are getting ready to graduate. They just got added to my plate because the other kids said they were getting a lot out of what I'm doing. So now I'm actually working with them for the next 4 or 5 months before they graduate to see if they're even prepared. These kids are coming to college and they're not prepared.
Oh, that's so yeah.
You may have this, you may have this, but you don't have everything else. Because, like you
Yep.
said
That's
earlier, when you're sitting at home, mommy makes sure you go to class. Mommy makes sure you go to school to then eat and do this, this, and this. But when you go off to college, you're there. And that professor has his paycheck. He gets paid regardless if you show up to class or not.
so do.
And before you know it, that is a kid that somebody says is now at the end or close to the end of completion screaming for help. Or they find a kid in a dorm room and nobody's seen them for 2 or 3 days because nobody's checked on them. Those are the things that are happening. And when I talk to them, like I tell them, there's three things that we have to do. We got to prioritize what's important for preparation to be able to execute it. And if that's not happening, guess what? It's not going to work. You
Well,
may have all the smarts, but if you don't have those things, and sometimes you just need somebody to say, you know what? I know I have a nursing student. She's secured her job, everything. She's ready. And I said, so what can I help you with since you're one of my seniors that's getting ready to graduate? She said, I have to take the NCLEX, the test, the nursing test.
it was.
She said, and I don't know where to start. Now, this is a young lady that has made it all the way through school, a straight A student. And she said, I'm afraid to talk to my parents about it because I know I should be prepared. I said, okay, so you got to do this. You start your job this day. They give you 45 days to take the test. What do you need to do? I said, out of everything I just said, what's the most important? And she said, I got to study for this test. I said, so that's what we got to work on. We got to put a plan together to prioritize you taking this test and then going to the next steps so that you don't lose this job offer that's been given to you. But
It's
nobody
interesting.
told her that.
It's interesting that you said that because I look at my grandchildren, the older ones, that are getting ready to leave high school, and transition now to college. And I remember for me, my first two, they were well versed in the world. I would take them to the store. This is back then you could go to Bellside, go in there. I don't have to bill. You had to get a paper, fill it out, and and so I started teaching them. But then when I got to the third one, I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't equip her to go out in the world. And I realized now that a lot of parents are not equipping their children to go out in the world. So when I look at my granddaughter, I'm like, Lord, she can't go out in the world. She's not ready yet. Because, you get the students, they don't know how to go to, they don't know about the insurance. They don't know what kind of insurance they have. They don't know how, if they get sick, what to do. And it's something, and I think that's why we became not only the nurses, not only religious life, not only the, mental health, we became kind of like everything to that person. Because when you talked about it takes a village to raise a child, it definitely takes a village now. And I think we tend to, like you said before, give them a lot of things because we didn't have it, but we're still not preparing them for the real world. So, ladies, this is a conversation. Feel free to jump in. Ashley, if you have something to say, definitely feel free to come on. And I know I don't have to say it to Evangelist Dawson. So you said all of that, and I think about what you just told us about. I know that you create jewelry, and my granddaughter still, she wouldn't let me wear her bracelet. I know that you create jewelry. That's one way. I think one of the things I really want to do is for us to talk about expressing ourselves and why it's so important for us to be authentic.
Yeah.
And when you talked about not just the jewelry, you said you paint. You do hair. A lot of these things is us showing up for ourselves and doing what we like doing, kind of going against the grain of what society says we should do.
Exactly.
So,
but a lot of things, go ahead.
I was going to say, let's talk about how you express yourself and why you express yourself that way.
So there's two parts to that. My expression comes from two sides. The first side is everybody that knows, or if they don't know, everybody that has a counselor that is a counselor should have a counselor. You should have somebody that you can talk to. I know that I can pick up that phone and talk to Sister Marilyn and Sister Karla at any time if I'm really at that place where I need somebody, and they're going to understand, because people pour a lot of negative into us when we're talking to them.
Yeah.
So you got to have somebody to connect with. So on those times where I'm not necessarily talking to anyone, I have my creativity. So my creativity balances that. I've had a hard session and I'll take some wire, and next thing you know, I've got earrings and they're just wire. And I'm working all these different things out while I'm doing it. The other side of that is I do that with my clients. there are times that, guess what? Yeah, we might talk on Zoom, we might have a phone conversation, and then there's times that, guess what? We need to sit and meet in person. And I will incorporate them making jewelry, them painting,
Yeah.
whatever. And I've had clients say, "Well, I'm not a painter." Guess what? But you're gonna get whatever is on the inside out on that
On the
paper
paper,
or
right?
on
That's
that
right.
canvas, and you're gonna
Art is
spit it
powerful.
out. Just like I tell people, everybody's not a poet, but everybody is a poet. Some people publish, some people perform. Some
Right.
people just need to get those words out of their head and their heart on paper. I have those sessions where they write the gospel because of how they've been treated and the hatred and the abuse and all of that. And then you sit around a bonfire and you burn it because you got to
That's right.
release it. There's a
Right.
process to be able to get over all this stuff. So I take all my creativity and that's my release in many ways. I actually use that. But this is the catch, the fun part. Most people that sit at my jewelry table, my art table, wire table, and start making jewelry, they start talking. The
Mm.
walls start to come down. The
Absolutely.
kids, the walls start to come down. One of the smallest pieces of jewelry that I make that really catches a lot of women is waist beads. Everybody knows about waist beads. But I
What is
tell
it?
people you got to sit down and have an appointment with me to talk about why do you want these waist beads. Now, if you just want them for fashion, you need to go buy them from somebody else. But if you're trying to get in touch with you and have them connected with you, we can sit down and we can talk about it. You're going to design it. You're going to pick your colors, your crystals, or whatever you want. But it's a way for you to know the real reasons why they started and why you want to do this. And I've had kids as young as 10 years old do this because their parents are like, I don't think that this is age appropriate. And then I tell them, babies in Africa at 3 start in the waist beat.
My grandmother had,
For a reason.
and
Yes, ma'am.
I regret not finding out from her, but I remember my grandmother creating waist beads for myself and my sister.
Hey,
And I
what are you all
remember the
talking about? What's a waist seed?
waist beads. You know the beads that they wear around their waist,
Oh, waist beads.
right?
Okay, gotcha.
And
Yes.
so I know there's a meaning behind it because we retain a lot of Africanism, a lot of African ways where my
Mm-hmm.
grandmother's from. And
Mm-hmm.
and I know she talked about the reason why the color that she chose was a color for protection. That was blue. But go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you have your, and that's what I tell people. There's 3 reasons why they do it. They do it for fashion, femininity, and feel good about themselves. That's the reason I make them.
The talk.
So with that, yeah, exactly. It's a whole nother ball game. People sit down and start creating for themselves and start releasing some of that. That's when I start hearing all the other stories. And I was like, okay, let's start with this one or start with this one so we can learn what the process is. Because there's a process to everything. And once
Yeah.
they realize I can process to get over this hurt, most of my clients ask me the same question. How can you talk about the abuse or the different things that you've been through? I said, because I did the process. I said, see, we had to do the work. Karla, we had to do the work before
Yes.
we were able to help others.
Yeah.
And
That's
now that
right.
we've done the work, I tell them there's specifics that you can do. I said, now, when I talk about it, I'm not glorifying it. I'm not making excuses for people, but I had to understand why it took place so that I could move forward and understand that this happened to me. It was not my fault,
Right.
and I'm still going to be okay.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a big
We,
thing, and a lot of
and
people
we, and
don't
we
get that.
definitely
So
talked
I
about that.
use jewelry making for all things.
Uh-huh. Go ahead. So how do you
I
how
said
do
I
you
use the
decide
jewelry for all things. So
So how do you decide what piece to make? Where do you get your inspiration from? How do you see yourself expressing
depends.
yourself when you make your pieces? How do you feel at the end?
I do. Sometimes I meditate when I do different pieces, and sometimes it depends on the circumstance. If I've had a really, really hard session, I want that piece to be as creative And when people see the pieces that I make with all the twists and turns and the curves and the wire wrapping, believe me, that represents that long road that we had to go down.
Mm.
So there's actually different things. Just like when with natural hair, I do the same thing. When people say create a hairstyle, it depends on the situation and talking to people. When I'm creating for a specific person, I ask them to talk to me about what's going on with them at that time and what are they trying to represent. If it's just pure fashion, then it's just pure fashion. But a lot of times we buy when we're going through something.
Yeah.
So if somebody's buying earrings or a necklace set, I want to know what's going on with them at that time and then try to incorporate that into the piece. Like I said, when you see the wire wrapping and the twisting of the earrings and things of that nature, that represents that road that we had to go through. And that road that's long, usually is long travel, but it represents that. And I never know what the piece is going to look like. I know in my mind what I want it to look like. That's the same thing when we go get our hair done. We say we want it to look like this. It may not be identical, or you look different when it's done.
Yeah.
But when I finish that piece, I can look at it and it makes me feel like I've created something very unique. Because half the time I don't know what they're going to look like. I really don't. I just start creating and I'm like, and there's times I talk to the pieces and I'm like, God, I don't know what I'm twisting this wire for right now, but I need you to show direction. And then next thing I know, I have this beautiful piece that's created at the end.
Wow.
And working with someone, I kind of guide them and then I let them go and they start creating. I talk about what the crystals mean and the colors and like you said, your grandmother knew what was for protection and things of that nature. A lot of people think that's just something that's made up, but when you search and talk to your grandparents, you find out those things. When you do your research on our ancestors, those things meant something. Those colors, the vibrant, each tribe, all those things meant something. Like when I used to teach hair braiding, I said when the slaves did hair braiding, it wasn't because it was cute. Most times they did it because it was a roadmap. Those intricate designs were a roadmap.
The cornrows.
There were times when they would, yes, when they would hide rice and beans in their hair so they would have food along the way. So all those things matter. Where you stood in that in your tribe. If you were a princess, if you were someone to get married, if you were available, what your position was, they could tell by your hairstyle. So all those things are the creative part of us. And when someone has been hurt really deep, I tell them to express themselves, even with a painting. It might start out looking crazy and you throwing colors all over the place because your anger starts to come out. Well, what happens at the end? What do you see?
Peace and calm. It calms down.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Every time. So the jury is one of the big avenues, and it was not something that I started because I saw a business. I've been making jewelry for years, and it was always my peaceful place. It was always my place to go and be at peace. Just like poetry saved my life, being able to write, and I felt like something was listening to me. That paper and pen did. So now I tell people, go to a peaceful place. Be able to express who you are at a peaceful place. And it makes all the difference.
Well, let's talk about poetry. Now, you got into poetry because you're definitely a multifaceted woman. You talked about poetry. When did you start writing?
I started writing poetry. Okay, go ahead and finish your question first.
No, go ahead.
You know me. So I started writing poetry. This is the crazy part because I have adult friends that have known me 30, 40 years and they still tell me. I just had a lady tell me last week, hey, no, you wrote poetry. I've been writing since I was 7 and I'm almost 60. So I started writing poetry at a bad time in my life. I was going through being sexually abused. And unfortunately, at that time, nobody saved me. And poetry did. That's why I let people know poetry did save my life because at a time where I needed somebody to listen to me, only thing that listened to me at that time was pen and paper.
Wow.
All the way to when I reached out to my grandmother and told her, because my mother she was in an abusive situation, so she wasn't able to save me the way she should have because she was going through abuse herself. And I reached out to my grandmother, and the way she saved me, she wrote it all down. She wrote all the details down, the times, the dates, how long it had lasted. And at a time where my mother's life was in jeopardy, she took that piece of paper out and
Wow.
told that person, if you do not leave now, I will report every one of these dates, every one of these times that you did this.
Wow.
So I understood at that age that pen and paper was my friend, because if didn't nobody else listen, it did. So throughout the years, I started writing and I kept writing and I kept writing. So originally, the first form of poetry that everybody knew me by was erotic poetry. And everybody was like, "Oh, you write that?" I said, and then I had people ask me, "Well, why wouldn't you write something like that? That's vulgar. That's nasty." I said, "I understand why I write." I said, "I am a product of being sexually abused at the age of 7. I was raped at the age of 21. And through all of that, I had no say so. Erotic poetry allowed me to take back my sexuality. And guess what? Now I write the ending to it.
Come
Whether
on,
it be
somebody. Come
graphic,
on,
whether it
somebody.
be not graphic, I took that power back. So that's why I did it. And I did it in a tasteful way. My first CD, I gave to my dad, and he's like, I'm the deacon at the church. I'm like, I know. He said, now I listened to it. He said, and it was tastefully done. He said, and I know you want my blessing. He said, and I understand why. This was a thing that I had to take back because, as you know, Ms. Karla, women always blame themselves most of the times when it comes to sexual abuse.
Yes.
Because for one, our body reacts to it, or the fact that we must have did something to make them do that to us. There's no reason you are at fault. But see, we got to get through that process of understanding this happened because that person's got the issue. You got to put it back in their ball card. You cannot take it on. So for me, being able to write the ending to an erotic piece means, guess what? I'm finally in control.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And then I went on to writing other types of poetry. I've won awards. I've been on stage. The stage scares the life out of me. Everybody tries to get me to perform, and I'm like, y'all don't understand. I don't like being on stage. Let me just sit in the corner and write. I've published books. At one point, I got the best compliment I could ever get in this world. And the lady told me, "You are the Angela Davis of poetry."
Come
She's
on,
Yeah.
one of the
somebody.
people that I love. I look up to her. I have her books, and I
Oh,
understand
yeah.
her standpoints throughout life. And I realized that words had power.
Yes.
And that's where I got to my tagline being, without words, we all live in silence. We all have a voice. And people think, well, I can't say anything or I got to keep quiet. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And that's where I got the poetry from.
Wow.
You said it's not what you say, how you say it. Let's break it down.
Mm-hmm.
For one of y'all young students, how would you make them understand what you mean by that?
I tell the girls at college and the high school girls, you know what? You might not like something your friend just said to you, but you can be a woman about it, pull her to the side and let her know, you know what? Apparently we agree to disagree or we don't like each other, and that's fine, but we both got to be here. So I'm gonna respect you, you respect me, and we stay in our boundaries, opposed to you getting with a bunch of friends and calling her every B word and nasty word you can in front of everybody to embarrass her. See,
Right.
sometimes you do have to take the higher road and be able to say, you know what, that's not how we're gonna do this. It sounds good to get back at somebody at that moment, but think about it. They can do the same thing to you.
And, you just open a can of worms. And then I guess it's a conversation for another Sunday afternoon about sisterhood and being able to speak your mind and cultivating
Mhm.
career relationships, and being able to speak up for yourself. So there's so many different things.
Mhm.
Relationship with yourself, relationship with others, and how to speak up for yourself, how to set boundaries, and get away with that myth where we don't hold space for each other.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
this is so it's so informative, and it's really so much knowledge that we have. We definitely don't want to take it with us to the grave. We want to definitely share the jewels and the gems that you have
Mhm.
with other people. And I know we've touched on several different things. I still want us to talk about express yourself. You talked about travel, and I know you love traveling, and I know you have a couple of trips coming up. I know Ghana is on your schedule for August and
Mhm.
September.
No, I'll
Oh,
be in Ghana in March, and
You're
then
gonna
I'll
be
be
Ghana.
there in August.
Okay, so
wow.
this next trip is gonna be in September. So let's talk about girl Ghana. Ghana. See, I'm getting a little weird thing now. She said Ghana. I love traveling as well. So let's talk about how you express yourself through traveling, and how do you utilize it, and how will you continue to utilize it to help others?
Building relationships. I have a friend. Matter of fact, I've already adopted a son in Ghana for my first trip. Talk to him and encourage him on a regular basis. Another lady who makes a lot. She runs a store at the market where you buy fabrics and clothing and stuff like that. I've been talking to her, and we actually have talked about some of the issues that she's went through because I thanked her the last time we was there, and she was like, I love what I do, but it can get stressful. And I told her, I said, come here, we're gonna take 5 minutes. And she said, no, 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 we're gonna take 5 minutes. I said, and you just gonna sit here and breathe for 5 minutes. Think whatever thought you want to think, but you're just gonna sit here and breathe. I said,
Yeah.
and guess what? When you go back to what you gotta do, you're refuel. I said, sometimes we gotta take those moments. And she said, you are a total stranger, but it's like you my sister. I said, because I am. And building those relationships. When I was in London, I met a young lady and we talked the same way. And she was like, well, I'm going to look you up on social media. A lot of them have found me on TikTok. I do a lot of social videos on TikTok about self-love, self-care, expressing yourself and being able to get back and building those relationships. So wherever I go, I try to do that. I let people know I'm here because I'm not a tourist. I'm here because I want to learn about your culture. I respect everybody's culture. I want to try your foods. I want to try this. And then
Yeah.
people look at me and they say, most people, they complain about it. No, I'm in somebody else's country and I want to learn those things. And that's what I do. So I'm traveling back and forth to Ghana to be able to build those relationships so that they know there is a path. And I'm touch basing with the mental health part of it because in a lot of places, mental health is swept under the rug, just like it is here. And here, I'm being faced with a lot of African young ladies and men that they're still stuck. They can't express how they feel because their parents have said, you come to America, you go to college, you either become a doctor, a nurse, or an engineer. Anything else is off the table. So I have those students as well. I teach a class at the college as well, and the class is about emotional. One of them is emotional intelligence, having difficult conversations, making difficult decisions, um, verbal and written communication, how to talk to your parents when you want to change your job field. Those things, and every one of those students that I've talked to and had to work through something with have been African or Hispanic. And that's because they've been told you got to do this and that's it. So building those type of relationships across the board comes in with the travel. And when I tell them I've been to Ghana, they're like, you like going to Africa? I was like, yes, I love it. It's part of who we are.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
trying to run as far away from it as they can because they are being told that this is the place that they get everything. And I'm like, but you came from the creation of everything.
They don't
Yeah.
know.
So,
They
You
got
said,
paradise.
you said something. I didn't hear evangelist. You said something about the African, and you said Hispanic. And I'm not sure how much in contact have you come with, first generation Caribbean. But I know for me, our parents came because they felt that this country was a place, a dream, where you can achieve your dream, that everybody had the
I have
same
one.
opportunity. And I was told what I was going to be. Even before I was 5 or 6 years old, you do well in school, this is what you're going to be. And I rebelled. I still ended up being somewhat of what they said I was going to be. But that right there is a hot
And you're
topic
from where,
too.
Miss Karla?
From Trinidad and Tobago, the southernmost island in the Caribbean. Are we frozen? Dawn?
She might have to go out and come back
Yeah,
in.
she probably does. Because mine is still good. Yeah, she coming. Are you back? Can you hear us, Dawn? Dawn?
Maybe she got a storm her way. You got storm over your way?
We're down south. She's a little further down south than you.
Huh?
Dawn?
Okay.
Okay,
Can you
you
hear
There
me?
back?
she is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There she
I
is.
got disconnected on the computer, so I said, "Well, the cell phone will have to finish."
It's
So where
okay.
are you from? Where are you from, Miss Karla?
I'm from Trinidad. From
Ex-
Trinidad.
Exactly. I have a young lady. This is one of my graduates is from Trinidad,
Mhm.
and she wants to be a heart surgeon. So I use the fact that she wants to be a heart surgeon, and I'm a heart patient. So I use me as my example. And when she's having those struggles, I tell her, I said, so I told you I'm gonna need another heart doctor eventually. So you need to get it together and you need to make sure all these things. But she talks about the fact of having to leave home to come here. And because she's close to graduation, she's also one of those ones that we're doing the graduation meetings. And like I told her, I said, what do you have to prioritize right now? And she realized for her to even think about going to medical school, she has to get a job so that she can reapply for her visa to be able to do the next step. And like I told her, so you got to prioritize that first. But she's also been raped since she's been here. She's went through a lot of trials and
Wow.
tribulation. And when she met me, she was like, it's like I got a mother away, a mother here in the States now. And like I told her, wherever you go, I'm still going to be there with you. I said, because we've made that connection.
Right.
But she also talked to me about how hard it was to be able to talk to her parents about what she went through and being displaced. Sometimes she feels like she's displaced, even some abandonment because she's here in the United States and her whole family is there. She has a couple of aunts here, and her aunts work at the college, and they're very well known at the college. But the crazy part is they make it very clear that those type of things we don't discuss. That syndrome of keeping things quiet because you always have to have this persona of what it looks like.
On the
And like
outside,
I
but
tell people, the strongest person in this world is the person that says, I need help, not the person that thinks they got it all together.
yeah, it's unfortunate. That's part of the culture as well. that other women like ourselves are fighting to change. A
Exactly.
dialogue. That's it's inbred in the culture. Not only that, that women do not have the same place. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the things that we're facing here, that's being faced in Africa, different countries around the world, women are still second class, considered second class citizens, and are treated as such. But as long as we have young women that are coming up now, that we can share, and we can help and motivate and inspire them, that this dialogue can be changed, and it will
Exactly.
be changed. It must be changed. But I know that we're coming down to the end of the hour. Um, is there anything else you want to talk about as it relates to expressing yourself and why it's so important?
Self-expression is who you are. Your self-expression is not always going to be the same or uh, accepted by everybody. But because you self-express, you become your authentic self. And when you're your authentic self, then guess what? You realize you're not going to let people treat you any old kind of way. The more and more I became myself and expressed more of me, everybody says, you kind of different when they come to my house. You got all this work from the islands. I've got masks, I've got pictures, I've got all kinds of stuff from different parts of the world. And like I tell them, this is part of who I am. And because I express myself, I feel comfortable, more comfortable with being me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
once people realize that self-expression allows them to show who authentically they are, they'll be in a better place. You feel good. Not everybody's gonna like you, and it's okay.
Mhm. That's true. So true. Not everyone's going to be your friend. So tell us, Miss Dawn, how can we get in contact with you? How can they find you? Where can they find you? Tell us what
People
state
can
you're in.
find me everywhere, and I tell people, I have people get mad about this. I tell them, you know what? Everybody has my phone number. And I give my phone number freely to people. Block game is real strong. So if it's somebody that's not supposed to be contacting me, I don't have a problem with blocking them, because I have learned that at the college level, there are a lot of my students that instead of talking, they love to text. So
Yeah.
I will text back and forth with them. So my number is 317-418-2076. You also can reach me at DB2 Handcrafted Designs. That's on Instagram, that's on TikTok, and that's on Facebook. You will see videos that I post. If anyone ever has an issue, like I tell everybody, everybody's first session with me is free. I'm going to be able to tell you one of two things. I can help you, or I can refer you to somebody that can.
Yes.
Are you virtual?
Yes, I do virtual, I do by text, I do by phone. I meet with people all over the world, so it does not matter. As a life coach, I have no guidelines that I have to stay within one state. That's another reason why I am a life coach and a mental health coach, because it does not restrict me, and I want to be able to give back and help as many people as I can. There's a mission, and I realized it some years ago after meeting Miss Karla. She does not know this, but she made me open my eyes to a lot of things when I met her in Spelman. And the first thing she made me realize was that I had a bigger purpose.
Yay.
Amen.
Karla.
Because of that,
Yeah.
I've been on this. We've been together. We've touched base, and we've never given up. Because guess what? Even if me and her wanted to give up, God said, "Nope, I got things for y'all to do."
That's
And
it.
that's how I've always looked at it.
Yeah. And we still got things to do. We still got
Yes,
things to
ma'am.
do. We still got to do Indiana, and we're doing Ghana. And can you mention a little bit about the upcoming trip and towards the
August.
end of the year? Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going back to Ghana, taking a group of people, anybody that's interested, to go to Ghana. It's $2,200. Airfare is separate. That covers 10 days in Ghana with a full tour guide, 4 to 5 star hotels, all your food. That $2,200 covers everything while you're there. Naming ceremony, all different events. Everybody can get the itinerary. Matter of fact, the itinerary is already up for it. And we make payments. People can do their airfare from wherever they are, and we'll correlate to be everybody to be picked up and to our first hotel. The good thing about this trip is there's several people that are interested in going, and I tell people it's a learning experience. The learning experience of being able to connect to who you were, where you are from, being able to see the culture and understand and dispel a lot of those myths that everybody talks about Africa being a horrible place to go. I went the first time and I was there 2 hours and said, I need to start planning my next trip.
I didn't want to come home.
I didn't either. The thing, and trip I'm going in March. That's one of the things I have planned while I'm there in March, to be able to look at some land, possibly to being able to have a retreat there, a place there, so that we can go to have retreats and stuff like that. Not everybody is like me. Not everybody wants to move to Africa. I would do it in a heartbeat if I could right this minute. But I love the fact of being able to go back and forth and travel and make those relationships and build those relationships so that they see a different side. I've been told mental health is not real big there, and it is something that is necessary, because the one thing women have suffered across the world, and I've met people from Africa to London to the Jamaica and everywhere in between, is self-esteem and self-love. So when we learn to love us, we're that much more powerful. It's not that phrase that everybody keeps talking about. Oh, women are so strong. Women are so strong.
No,
women are starting to say, I don't want to be strong. But women are the creators of life. So we have to nurture that.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what we're going to do.
We have to teach each other how to love ourselves. Because if you don't love yourself first, you cannot love anyone else.
And
if
nobody
you don't have
can
a
love you.
Right, because you can't love.
No.
And if you don't have a relationship with yourself first, you can't have a relationship with anyone.
So site is my website is they can reach me there as well, and they can email me. Is Dawn Renee, DAWNRENEE live. Dawn Renee live. They can always send me an email, and I believe, Dawn Renee live. I believe that there's too many forms of communication out here, so you can always reach me.
Thank you so much.
Wow.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate you coming in, sharing your gems. This is only the beginning. I see where even God has moved from since we met, yes, even though it took a long time for things to come together, everything is in God's timing. And I must tell you, I think that October has really launched everyone's ministry and business out there. People have come up and they're doing so much, so many different things. And if you guys missed it, we did an event called Threads of Wisdom back in Atlanta back in October, and it was really awesome. It was so awesome. It was October. Wasn't it October?
Yeah, that was in October. It's been a minute. It seemed like it was
October. Oh, it was in Atlanta.
Yeah, it was in Atlanta. And it was just like a family reunion. We had women coming from all over the United States to share. And I'm talking about women that were so committed that they came, paid their own dime for them to show up and to share. And I feel like that was a birthing place.
Oh, yeah, it was.
It was.
If nothing else, it birthed. If nothing else, it birthed the thought process for all of us. If we weren't for sure if we were doing the right thing or on the right path, that was your confirmation.
Yes, definitely was. It was. It was such a release. And I'm so grateful for that opportunity. And I look forward to us doing something else. Colorado's coming up, I believe, right?
Colorado, October. I've been going back and forth with these hotels, so I might find us a beautiful lounge. I just have to keep in mind y'all ain't used to nature, and so I can't take you deep in the woods, but I'll put you on the border.
As long as y'all have inside parties and all of that kind of good stuff, I'm good with it.